Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is our chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today's guests are Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show. I hope
Very much
we
for
will
having,
see you
thank
soon.
you very much for
Yes,
having
we
me
are.
on again.
It's
Yep.
always great to have you on. And today we have also Jim Eid from Eid Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you
Mhm.
for having me, Sasha. It's great
Great
to
to
be
have.
Yep.
And finally, we have Dr. Milan Somberg. Welcome to the show, Milan.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great to have you. Before we'll go into, of course, main event, which is World Chess Championship, although without
Right.
world champion, but still, it's
here.
officially World Championship.
Mhm.
So now we're going to say a few words, and actually, Milan, maybe you can address how the Collingwood Chess Festival is developing, which is becoming the biggest event in Canada.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for supporting me, and Jim Ead has done so, and you have also, Sasha and Professor Reagan.
Thank you. Yep.
We hardly know each other, but you are at the University at Buffalo. That university has a dental school, and when I was
Yes.
in dentistry at the University of Toronto, we had an exchange program with the University at Buffalo. So I've been there, and Buffalo students have been to Toronto, and so I know that
Mhm.
people from your part of the world can get to Collingwood, where this chess festival is taking place, in an easy driving distance, 4 hours or so does it. A
That's
lot of
right.
people from Canada go to Buffalo for special deals, even though the exchange rate is not favorable still, the deals are special. So what we have done in Collingwood, we have launched a chess festival last year, and it's in my father's name. And my wife and I wanted to be an annual event forever. We're prepared to spend $60,000 personally to make it that. And we're getting funding from supporters like Jim Ead and others. And
Mhm.
so we held it last year in the first weekend in May, and we're doing the same this year. But
Right.
there is so much for people to do now that
Mhm.
COVID is behind us, that there's much more to do than there are weekends to do it in.
Yeah.
So last year we had 55 participants, and this year we're almost there, but not quite there. We were hoping for 100. But every individual has so many choices. They can attend concerts, and they can attend hockey games and operas and go
Mhm.
here and go there. That much more to do than there are weekends to do it in. And so I think everybody faces that. So Sasha, I do appreciate the support that you're giving us by giving
Very
us.
well.
Whether I could be there in person is still unclear, because this is my busiest month of the year, but I'll certainly be there in spirit. So
Well, go on.
maybe there's another international master I could send to you. So
Tell us how to find out more information, like the hotel and all
Mhm.
the dates and all of that. How would you, if you don't
Well,
know, how would you tell
yeah,
someone to find it?
if you go to
Google.
Collingwood Chess, go do a search for Collingwood Chess, it'll come up. And
Yeah,
then
I can.
get there, and there'll be all the details will be shown, and
That's great.
including the location. And we're having a cocktail party this year, and the names of all the participants. We have, I think, 6 or 8 people in the top category, including 4 international grandmasters. About 1% of chess players can reach a level of 2,000.
Mhm.
Last year, we had nearly 30% of our participants at that level.
Yeah.
And the youngest was 9 years old, so we have kids participating. It's open to everybody. And our mayor herself will personally greet people this year because the town is
Mhm.
giving support. So I do appreciate the fact that I can speak to your audience, Sasha. And Jim Ead might come from California to visit us.
Mhm.
And
Brian Hartman came to Buffalo sometimes. I don't know if you're seeing my screen yet.
Not yet.
Um,
No.
Not yet. Okay.
so
Um, so
There we go.
I have your list of participants up. So this is the main
Hmm.
page.
Oh, who brought that up? That's great. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's Ken's specialty.
I had it in the tab already.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I was looking to see. So Brian Hartman, I once played in Buffalo, anyway, there's some other people I know, of course, from having done a sabbatical in Canada and been to Toronto, played in the Canadian Open 2011. So
Brian,
Many years ago, Nav and I played in one tournament in Buffalo, and it was the first ever tournament of Gata Kamsky in the United States. He
Oh,
was,
wow, that was a long time ago.
it was a long time ago, and he was a youngster, very
that's famous.
reserved.
Though.
And,
Yeah.
his father, of course, was there.
Yeah.
And I remember that at that time. But at that time, it was quite evident that he would become a great player. So he was very young.
Brian
Mhm.
Hartman is an interesting man in many ways. I don't think he has a lot of formal education. I think somebody told me that he did not finish elementary school. Last year, he sold his company for a profit of $22 million. Had he gone to school, he may not have done so well. In any event, we had the dinner. He was at dinner last year, and dinner got cold. And the reason it got cold because we had a checkered tablecloth, and we asked Brian to pass the salt. So once again, thank you very much, and thanks for showing that. And so anybody can see all the details are spelled out in Calling with Chess. Do a search for that on the internet, and you will find it. And I hope that you'll be able to do that 100 years from now. We want it to be an annual event.
Thank you, and hopefully there will be some fine games played. And
There, unquestionably, there'll be some. There are people there who are have a ranking of 2,300, 2,400, and so there'll be some outstanding games. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
some of those
and
games.
now we have also quite outstanding games in a World Championship. Tell me, how do you enjoy so far this match? And what's your favorite site to follow up the games and interviews and development?
Good question. Yeah.
Jim, what about you? What are you watching?
Well, Chess24 and ChessBase are the two places that I go for my information, generally speaking, and that's true for this match as well.
What about you, Ken?
Well, I also go to my friend Dennis Montecruso's The Chess Mind blog. He does reviews of the games with fairly detailed engine-assisted analysis. Pretty informative. I've enjoyed listening to the FIDE broadcasts because my friend Irina Krush is the commentator alongside Daniel Dubov. So.
Yeah, I have to check that one because I'm watching many of these channels. But I like to watch the Russian channel. At least it's not Russian channel, but it's Levitov Chess. Actually, Levitov himself, he's in London, and he has commentaries by Peter Swidler. And guests. He changes guests because sometimes it could be Grishuk, it could be Kostyanyuk a couple of times, and there are some others. And Peter Swidler is outstanding.
I really like him.
Yes, I like Peter Swidler too. He's such a great cricket fan.
He's equally good in English and Russian, and sometimes I think he's even better in English sometimes. But he is, of course, very capable in Russian as well. And that's quite interesting to watch. As a post-game, the analysis review of the game, I like a lot Makarychev chess. He's very, very detailed and very objective, and his delivery is very smooth, quite outstanding. So I really like him a lot. And with that, Ken, what would you like to look at for us in the last few games?
Well, yes. So I like to go through, as many of the 4 games. Let's see the 2 decisive ones first.
Yeah.
Because they were really quite beautiful games.
Before we begin, I just wanted to say that it's amazing how competitive this match has been compared to the World Championship matches. And of course, Magnus is not playing, so we people like me didn't pay as much attention to it as we would have if the strongest player in the world was participating. But nevertheless, we have been seeing many, many draws when the FIDE World Championship has been at stake, and this is not the case here. There's been blood has been spilled, as they say.
Yes.
There is a reason, in my opinion, to that, because when Carlsen was playing his matches, everyone was scared of him like hell. So everyone, Caruana was prepared to make 12 draws, and he was happy as hell, and so was Karyakin, and Nepomniachtchi was trying to be a little bit more entrepreneurial, should I say that, and his entrepreneurship failed miserably. And today, neither Dean is scared of Nepomniachtchi and vice versa. So they're playing very enterprising chess. And in my opinion, still, for some reason, defense is one of the weakest for both players in all last probably 50 years of chess world championship
The
matches.
mistakes have been incredibly, games have swung based on errors that are,
Right.
And there are no end games.
It's
Almost.
unusual. It's very unusual.
Well, I will say that my intrinsic public rating, performance ratings, are averaging just a little north of 2650 after 9 games. It was above 2800 after 4 games, as I
Last
said
time
on
we
last
talked,
week's show.
Yeah.
But now I've got readings between 2605 and 2725, depending on the engine and mode. And those readings have error bars of plus or minus 200, so it gives a general idea. But that's even Ding Liren said his quality was awful yesterday, and it actually upticked his intrinsic rating measurement. So, but of course that's a trade-off. You get for combative games you lose accuracy.
What percentage of games wind up in a draw, Sasha?
In chess, usually, I'd say probably 70% or so.
Over 70%. Isn't that
Kev,
Yes. I would say, a little less depending on the level. Now, let's see. Now, my screen sharing is still not working.
It depends on the level, Milan.
Yeah. And also, ladies' chess is much more combative than men's chess. So
at the stronger level.
The level of draws probably less than 50% in women's chess.
Yeah.
So you were talking about mistakes and blunders, and Svetozar Gligoric, who is from Belgrade, and he has defeated every world champion of his day, even though he himself never was. So anyway, my uncle, who taught me how to play chess also together with my father, is quite a strong chess player. He would have a rating, I would say, of about 1800 or so. And he knew Gligoric personally. So Gligoric came over, they had a game. And in one game, Gligoric blundered and my uncle won. He said, "I'm never playing you another game of chess." So
now let's see. My screen sharing, you're still not seeing the arena board. I'm trying to share to an application only, so that you won't. Okay, that's concerning. Maybe it's because I have other things active that it's being.
Could be.
Okay, never mind. And I just realized I screwed something else up. So let's see. So let me try once more. I don't know. Let's see. So it's not picking up that I'm trying. Oh, I'll stop sharing. Okay. I'll say, now that did something to the screen. Now I'll present again, share screen, and go to window. And I have the Arena chess program up. Now maybe it's showing black because it can't share to it for some reason. StreamYard is sharing a window.
We're not seeing it.
Can't see anything. Now something shifted, but
something is trying to start up. It looked like.
Okay. I run Zoom meeting with dentists every week, sometimes a couple of times a week, and StreamYard is very similar. And I have yet to run a perfect one.
Yeah, that's true. So it seems like it's not okay. So what I'll do, it's worked when I shared my whole screen. So I will dismiss some things that looks like I missed getting the reports to Europe in time. Okay, let me stop sharing. Now try sharing my entire screen.
But Sasha, your point about the fear of playing Magnus is well taken. But just because you're not afraid of your opponent doesn't mean you would play riskier necessarily. So I'm curious that both of these. Now we see the screen, Ken.
Okay, all right. So that's the so it's just not working for a tab. Okay, well I have all right. Any sensitive stuff is gone. Okay, so my story, if it's okay to start, we'll pick up with Sunday's game. Saturday, Nepo had won to go ahead in the match again, but Ding Liren got his time with White. So could he bounce back? And the answer is yes, with one of the truly beautiful games in concept. And he did so by trotting out the London system, about which there are many jokes on Twitter about its ineffectiveness.
I try not to take them personally.
Yeah, notchiousness or whatever. But okay, so actually, so what has White done? Actually, it looks like Black is a little better developed here, but we just play. And this actually is reasonably effective for White in that Black's bishop cannot guard that knight. Okay, so pieces come off. I mean, this position, is it drawerish? Well, actually, White plays a beautiful strategy. And the reality is this is a Queen's Gambit declined reversed pawn structure, where White, in other words, Black in this position, would ordinarily play the minority attack. Okay. Which involves advancing the B pawn. But White plays an effective strategy against the minority attack and is somehow able to clamp down on both sides of the board, even though Black has a pawn majority on the king side. Okay, so here we go. White brings back the bishop, and now this is Black against in the Queen's Gambit decline usually doesn't get to achieve this.
Right.
Now there's no B pawn coming forward, and White has a nice hole on B6, and White can actually expand on the Queen side by the rook lift we'll see in the game. The pawn on A5 is a little bit.
Just a quick question. The minority attack that you were referring to. I won so many games using that, but that's actually. Am I right to say that people have now think that it's not as effective as when I was starting to play chess? That was really an effective attack, and I used a great deal when I was starting out, and had a lot of success with it. What's the main idea, the general consensus now about that?
I actually don't know.
Oh, okay.
I read the book Larry Evans Teaches Chess with a beautiful 84 move win where he played the minority attack. So that's my latest word.
I remember.
So, but that's interesting for me to hear. So the thing about the whole structure, imagining this for White especially, is you have an extra pawn on the king side, so you could potentially push there, and you have the minority attack on the queen side. It's nice all over the board. Yeah. Here, White, with the formation that we're talking about for Black, is able to play on both sides of the board. And this is a very nice rook lift. It just really solidifies the structure. And then White is able to overprotect A5, which is a bone in Black's throat, so to speak, because if Black plays B6, then the pawn structure will be very unfavorable for Black. So White offers a queen trade here. This has been told as one of the great psychological moments of the game, in that it's probably safest for Black to trade queens.
I would not have offered the trade queens there. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So the assumption is he's going to be able to win this ending. A minor pawn structure is favorable for White. That's clear.
Mm-hmm. So probably Black can hold, but it's cheerless.
That's a very good point. Yeah,
White is more fun playing this.
Yes.
So, and also the other funny thing is, double pawns are often better than spread out pawns for restraining a majority. So, if White's pawns stayed where they are, F2, G2, H2, you could imagine if Black were able to reinforce E6 well, that his other pawns would come forward and gain space. But the white pawn on g3 after the queen trade really retards that action. So
It's an excellent point.
yeah. So anyway, so black demurred. But now what's curious, however, is Nepo at this point conceived a really desperate looking plan. Okay, so what he conceived was the plan of breaking out with e5 after all, even though he doesn't have a dark squared bishop, which would ordinarily profit by that move. So here we go. E5. I guess he did not want to just sit with the pressure that white would have on the queen side. So we bust out. Now it looks like black is going to be subject to deadly pins on the e file, but the fact is, white's knight is hanging for the moment. So white counterattacks against black's pawn, the cost of white's pawn. But here comes the pawn in the center. And now we just go back.
Well, that's pretty calm, cool, and collected, huh?
Yes, it is. And so we've got this, and now white drives back the bishop. So another salient feature of this game is an example of the value of having an advanced H pawn. And so
because it's cramping.
Yeah, it's cramping, and it's eventually going to be part of the game's final mating net. So there's a definite advantage to white in the pawn formation on the H and G files. So white goes ahead and grabs a pawn. Now black, of course, has this counterattack. And optically, this looks very good for black because the base of white's pawn chain will be exposed.
Right.
But here we go. Okay, we take this now. So this is very hard to judge. This is what you have to calculate because, white's back rank is bare. It's not a problem because white has luft with the king.
Right.
Black's rook is out of play, and that's the ultimate factor. But losing c3 doesn't look like fun. However, c4 is also weak after this move, especially. Now,
interesting.
Right now, at the next move, okay. So this is one place where I will activate the engine because this is said to be tactically where Nepo went wrong. Okay. However, no, so this is actually, you may have noticed if you're looking at the bottom of the screen, how the evaluations shifted. But in fact, Nepo should have grabbed this pawn, even though it looks very scary. So it turns out queen c1 check, originally the best move at low depth by Stockfish, is possibly a losing move already. So anyway, so black, endures this attack. I won't go into the deep reasoning with this, but the basic idea is that black has just enough tactics to hold off white's attackers.
Okay.
And so this needs, however, deep.
Yeah, that would be hard for me to.
Yeah, you would not want this happening to you
over the board. Yeah.
Over the board. But in fact, you can get away with this.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it looks lost, but it's not. Okay. I mean, yeah. So that's the one place. But on the other hand, it looks like, hey, this is giving this check first. So the problem with the check first is that it's not attacking white's pawn anymore. Now this was black's attempt to drive off white's pieces, but white is a move that maybe was underestimated by Nepo because you think white's queen is going to come in somewhere. But this is a very steady move. It guards the c3 pawn. So now there will be no more tricks and makes clear that the c4 pawn is being attacked. Well, okay. So passed pawns must be pushed.
And also, I was thinking that rook c7 was in the air, but he took the pawn first.
Right. Yeah, it's actually going after the pawn is the idea. So if white plays rook c7, the problem is that this takes the eye off the g5 square.
Right.
So
yeah.
But,
Missed that.
So Nepo put his faith in this counterattack,
Right.
but Ding Liren saw further. Okay, so this is a prelude. Now Rook C7 is really in the air.
Right.
Okay, and I don't know what Bishop B1 was for. If you look at the engine evaluation on the bottom, it's clear Black is in trouble in any event. So I don't know what this was intending to do. Maybe just move the bishop was the only thing that was intending to do. But now we have to Rook C7. Black is truly lost, and we can actually see fairly clearly through the end of the game. So Black plays here. Now White plays Knight D5.
With threat.
Threatening F6, taking on F6 with check. So Black's king has to go back. And now White puts an eye on the pawn, but actually the Rook is making room for White's queen. So it's a multi-purpose move. And
renewing the threat of knight takes F6. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And yeah, perhaps. Yep. So yeah, I think you're right. It was renewing that threat. So knight E7, Rook F8, and now the time control was reached, and Ding Liren plays a really exquisite move to put a mating net around Black's king. Okay. So the mating net move is D5. We shall see why.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so Black really is horn-tied in this position.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if Black moves the queen to G5, the A3 pawn drops, and Black is just 2 pawns down. So, or maybe you could win White's F pawn, but it's not. It just drops. White just take it. Well, whatever. So now White has basically a forced mate in this position. So Queen C7. Okay.
What are you gonna do? Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Black's king had to come up because Knight G6 with check was being threatened. So now it's not check. So Black's rook can go to G8 and defend. And now this move. And Black. So here Nepo resigned, and there were two.
D5. I see why D5's played now.
Yes, why D5 was played. Let's play variation number 1 first, which doesn't need D5. Black captures this knight, White captures with the pawn, and then plays queen takes B1 check, and the ultimate victory of that
basic back rank.
That was on H5. It's a back rank mate. Okay, so now we'll go back. And the other line that Black can try is, okay, so the other natural line is to just go ahead and say, White, what are you doing? And I like this if Black promotes to a bishop. This is the most aesthetic way to do it. Okay, so obviously,
so Black has to bishop advantage.
Then White will take the queen, but promote to bishop. Then White plays queen takes G8 check, king takes, rook down here, and now if king H8, it's rook in the corner mate. But what was the key point of playing
D5?
Yep. Whoops. Let me play the king to F7. Looks like Arena sometimes doesn't let you play the pieces where you want them to go. Okay. I confused Arena. Well, king F7, rook F8 mate, and the pawn on D5 is guarding the escape square.
Yep.
So
no escape on E6. That otherwise, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how D5 was adding to the attack, and then it dawned on me several moves into the game. So that's a great find by Ding. Right?
Yes.
I'm curious, Ken, at which point the estimation of the positions became very heavily in the White's favor?
When Black did not take on C3 at the move I showed.
Right
So-
there.
So right here,
C1 check,
So-
which I could have seen people playing queen
Yeah.
C1 check rather than queen takes C3.
right.
Seems like an obvious it doesn't seem like an obvious error to me.
Why did Black promote the A file pawn to a bishop instead of a queen.
Because I didn't want to waste a move. So, and it leads to what's really the most aesthetic position here. So, so again, see if now Farina will let me play the variation again. Yes, it will now. Okay. So, so if black had promoted to a queen, then white would spend a move to take it, and the play would be delayed an extra move. But okay, no, it's still not letting me go king f7. Let me actually delete the variation. Delete variation to the end. Okay, so now to play the variation. No, you know what? Marina's not letting me. Let me try set up a position. Not save the game, and now okay to that. Okay, so now
I'm learning something just watching you do that.
yeah, that's right. How to manipulate these computer programs. Yeah. Now the other problem is that okay, edit, and now okay, no, it's not.
Okay.
It's let me try it again. Set a position.
So if it was a queen, though, the idea would be that the queen would be able to take the rook when it checked. So
Well, no, yeah, that's right.
yeah.
So it would make white waste a move.
Right.
Okay. No, Arena's not letting me do anything more. So okay, sometimes there are little bugs. Okay, so let me open the next game. So I want to show
in a real game, Milan, he would have promoted to a queen, and white would have taken it, the queen, and the checkmate would have been delayed by a move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the question is, black having lost 3 games in a row, can black hold this game? Okay, and the answer is no. And this was a game, however, though, where black was really okay.
This was really fascinating that he played the French.
Right. Yeah.
That has not made too many appearances in World Championship play.
That's right. And it's also interesting that black plays this way.
Yes.
Okay, which has the virtue of not giving black an isolated D pawn.
Correct. And
On the other hand,
it's less usual, though. I mean, it's more common to have the isolated D pawn. That's the variation most players, French players, would play.
But it's basically accepting a structural weakness of the kind that usually is enough to give white a plus equal in the opening.
Correct.
So here's so white's knight on d4 is strong. So black plays here and accepts this. As a c3 Sicilian player, and as white or black, I wasn't always wanting to have this as black, because the c pawn can be weak. At least it's not on an open file. So so this is going to look a little scary for black. However, white does not have a battering ram, so so white is definitely selling out for the attack. But black is.
Yeah, I guess the point is advancing c6 to c5, and as you pointed out, there's not a half open file that the c pawn can become weak, and so now the bishop's a strong piece. Look at that bishop on b7. So, this is a pawn structural weakness, but at least black gets piece play out of it. So black looks fine to me here.
Okay, yeah. Whereas I would consider black a little suspect still.
Okay, because of the attack
on c4. It depends on how good black's queenside initiative is. And you know what? Somehow I think what happened is the Stockfish 11 that I had here crashed. Okay. Anyway, so white is gearing up on the file. Now it's like g6 is a committal move, and black has to.
Yeah, now I'm a little worried.
Yeah, well, and.
No, I'm not worried again. I think this is fine for black. Of course, I played a lot of French defenses, so that's just. I'm one of those guys that's used to defending these positions.
Well, it is true that objectively black really is fine, is meant to be fine here. So there are lots of alternatives that I'm skipping over, but this is where we're going to have a crisis.
Many things.
And apparently, if white wanted a slight edge here, the more accurate way to play was rook takes f4. Okay, let's see. So the point is that my Stockfish engine is not working. So I'm just going to play moves because I want to show the critical part of the game after. So what's happened is that black has sacrificed the exchange, has one pawn for it, two nice bishops. So it should be enough compensation.
Yeah, look at those bishops. I mean, this is the kind of thing that, that
White is able to blunt the bishop pair.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I spoke too soon. Yeah, I hadn't analyzed enough. Yeah.
But black is centered very nicely. Now, when I saw this being played, this is when I got up in the morning. I thought actually that this, even though I saw 0.00 on the Stockfish screen, I thought this is really more dangerous for black, ricketier for black.
This is very hard to assess for me.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to the earlier position where I was just calculating whether or not the king could survive, which it definitely seemed like it could. This is the kind of thing where you have a material imbalance, which is long-term in white's favor. Right. And where is black going to try to put pressure to tie white up? I don't see the plan.
No, ideally, black could play bishop g7 at some point, and then f5 and e5. Not in this particular position, but that's a plan.
Right. That's
at
the plan.
Each point, also, pawn on c3 is a little bit weak, so if you will bring either queen to a5 or queen d7, rook d3, or somehow asking pawn to move to c4, then bishop on d4 will become very strong. So I really don't see any imminent attack of white, and if white will not attack and just keep waiting, black can do at least the same thing.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Sasha. That seems to be a good analysis. Like bishop g7, e5, and f5 following. That seems like it's a...
In my opinion, the key in this position for black is to keep your rook on d4 on d5 as long as possible. Never ever move your rook.
That's exactly what
eventually white would have to play c4, and once play c4 then bishop d4, and black can be only better.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas as white, I want to try to achieve b4 to open up space on the queen side where the rooks will be stronger and make a pass pawn. And I actually don't understand why I can't just play the move now. I guess maybe you have to worry about c4, the move c4 in reply. Not that pawn's going to follow.
It's gonna fall. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I think.
Yeah, but after c4, I will have rook d3, and again your pawn on c3 is a little.
Oh, good point. That's a good point, Sasha.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would keep rook on d5. I would move king g7, king g8, but not move ever rook on d5.
And that's exactly the Sitzfleisch with Ding should have had. But as we'll remark about yesterday's game too, Ding does not have Sitzfleisch. So white played rook h4, black played queen d6. The h7 pawn is not really takeable because black can play bishop takes c3. But here, so Ding play h5, that's fine. Okay. And then white played g3, bishop f6, rook c4. And now here is where really black needs to sit. So already when I saw h4 on the board, I thought to myself, no, I don't want to give up my extra pawn because it's not going to be easy to win back that pawn. And white can possibly distract black and get in h5. So anyway, so h4.
That's strange move.
White took it. And now, again, black should play king g7 and just sit on the position.
If you're going to sit on the position, why toss the pawn in?
Yeah, exactly. Why toss the pawn in? So Ding went for the attack. All right, we're threatening mate here. And now rook e2. Now white is already better, but this move was, I don't know what kind of miscalculation it was. I don't even understand what it was calculating, unless there is a possibility that Ding thought. I haven't seen a commentary of the game. It's possible that Ding thought he could play the wild bishop d4 check in this position. Okay, and let's see if Arena will allow me to play that move. No, it won't. So something's crashed.
But what's an idea?
So the idea is that, well, white cannot take with the rook because it hangs the
Yeah.
queen.
Right.
And in
So
fact,
it's
white's
pawn.
rook is pinned, so you can't take black's rook.
We'll take it to the pawn.
So you take the pawn, and then black comes in with queen f4. And suddenly black is attacking with or actually maybe rook d1 check first. And then queen f4. Okay.
Yeah, that is a better sequence.
That's the sequence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And black now is attacking with the pieces. Let me dismiss.
That's actually unbelievable, but maybe works.
Yeah, let me now rerun Arena and see if it will allow me to. Oops, the wrong one. Sorry, wrong version there. Let me see now if I rerun it. Will it allow me that I've refreshed it to play this line? Yeah, this is the question. Oops, I want to edit. Okay. So this is the question of whether Ding Liren thought that this would be a brilliancy for black. Okay.
Well, the best you can do here, you're not going to mate him, are you?
Yeah.
You're trying to?
Yeah.
You
Well,
are trying to. Okay.
it's not optically easy to see how white defends this.
Is queen e5 possible?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
queen e5, and this works. Okay. And it turns out that although you're going to get a bunch of checks, it's not going to be mate. White's king is able to run to the center and away. So
But it does require a lot of calculation because it is scary.
yes, it is. This is certainly scary. And
No,
this
but
may
there's
have been
there's
may
no
have been
fairness.
miscalculated. So white's king does have to run here, but white it's
Yeah.
black can give some more checks. There's more checks coming. There's this.
Why not queen
Good.
g4?
Or queen g4, yeah.
Okay, let's see. We want to play queen g4. Okay, let's play queen d4. Whoops. Oh
And
no.
that's king d3.
Yeah, king d3. Yeah,
And,
king. This is it's white's got everything defended. The king's just
Yeah.
going away to the queen side.
Agree.
And the other line I thought looked a little better, but again, you can go king d3 or
I think
king.
anybody would find queen e5. I don't think
Yeah.
this
Yeah, it's a
could have been
question of
yeah.
misevaluating this.
Right.
You can put a piece on f3 with check, but there's no follow up. So whether that is what Ding Liren missed going back a few moves. Now we absolutely must show. How much time do we have? I'll just maybe show.
Well, it's about finish in a few minutes.
Okay. So
let's
I'll
do
show just
some.
the critical lines from the two draws. So Nepo won again. So 4 straight wins by the white pieces. But Ding Liren played really beautiful attack. I'm gonna quickly go through this game because this should have been really. Ding Liren plays a fresh idea in the Nimzo, about which there is a scandal because this idea, not technically a new move, but certainly the way Ding Liren played it is, was found in some blitz games played or casual games played on Lichess by anonymous accounts with 1,500 ratings. But someone data corresponded the download of millions of games from Lichess to the openings of the match and found that these two accounts had played a lot of the openings of the match.
And these two accounts play only against themselves.
Like
They
only
never-
against themselves and the openings of the match. So it's believed that this was Ding Liren and Rapport. So this is a beautiful attack. I don't know. I would worry my center's going to get open to my king. But
why would you do that? I don't quite understand. I mean,
do what?
Go online to do and show what you're planning to do. Your
Oh,
preparation.
maybe they if Ding was in China and Rapport was in Europe, And
In
you think
Romania.
these games are going to be anonymous, you could try them out against each other that way.
Yeah, but there's still ways to communicate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a rash decision
Yeah, or rash conclusion, maybe.
that that someone wouldn't discover that you're doing it. I mean, gosh, these
Yeah,
are chess players.
well, you could download 30 million games per month from Lichess. So, it's a needle in a haystack, but, with databases, you could find the haystack pretty well.
That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
there are people that just live to do this stuff.
Yeah. So White is playing really imaginative chess here with your king.
Yeah, this is really hard for me to understand.
Yeah, now getting the knight out of the pin. That's why he didn't capture Black's knight. Black's knight comes here, and this cutting off. Now, this is supposedly a losing move for Black.
Wow.
Black should have just played the knight back to F5.
Yeah.
So I'm scrolling a little fast to the key moment.
Sure.
Now White could have played Rook D3, and then Black cannot guard E5 and keep and survive the H-file penetration. If Black plays King G8 with the queen still on H8, then the D pawn will queen. However, D7 is certainly a strong-looking move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now Ding Liren, recalling that he was in time trouble the previous game too, repeated moves, and then went here, and now comes Nepo's bluff. Okay, so White should be, should be winning if Black plays Queen F8 and Queen E7 to defend, but instead Nepo played there, and the question is, can White capture Black's rook? Well, this is a beautiful line. So the answer is yes, but it does not really look like it. And darn it,
Yes, but.
Okay. And I forgot to press edit. Okay. So now White's in check. So there are three ways to get out of check. But if you do it this way,
Superb.
the position just repeats. Same thing if you put your king over.
All right.
The position will just repeat. And in fact, you're not going to have the chance to play the winning move anymore.
Right.
So White plays Rook E2, Queen check. Okay, now White's king goes for a little walk in the center, but there's only one place Black can check it from. Okay, and now the only new move to play is Rook C2. Now you're hanging the bishop with check. That's one thing.
Yeah, which looks bad.
Which looks bad, but your king gets out.
E2 and hide.
Yeah, so if you do this, then the point is the king gets to D2, and now it's going to come around to B2 and be completely safe.
And that's a
And
little.
Black will run out of checks. Okay, so that's easier one to see. But the
Okay.
one that's harder to see, is if Black plays Queen D1, then if Rook D2, Queen B1 check will repeat. So what White needs to do is hang the rook with check, and then play Bishop D3. And it turns out that that Black is suddenly out of checks here.
Yep.
And Queen F6 check is
That's
coming.
middle.
Whether even if Black plays Queen C3, Queen F6 check is coming. So
Right.
Black can give check with the knight. That's the only thing he can do. And now the king boldly comes up here to E5, and it's now out of checks. And
If there wouldn't be a pawn on F7, then Black would have knight F7.
Right.
idea.
yeah. So that is how Ding Liren could have won. Now the game actually,
Wow.
so Ding played a move that technically equalizes, but it's still really difficult for both players to play. And actually here Nepo somewhat rashly moved his pawns forward. He had what Black should actually do here is play knight D4 check to sack the knight to get rid of the D7 pawn, and then Black has counterplay. But anyway, with these moves,
But I have been able to come up with that plan.
Yeah. So with these moves, now Ding has a winning position again, but needs to guard the D7 pawn. Okay. Actually, the engines could take on B6. Okay, Bishop C6 is a move many recommended that at least keeps White's advantage. But the move that Ding Liren played really just walked into knight takes f2. And so now black is, if anyone, has the initiative. And the only way Ding was able to save himself was the fact that, oops, I went too far, was the fact that if black captures with the queen in this position, then rook g2 is a move.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And the counterattack on g6 saves white's bacon. So, okay. All right. Last thing I want to show is the.
That was fabulous. That was very. I'm going to have to go over that game again. I
Yes.
didn't understand why.
Very, very interesting, high quality game.
Yeah, very high quality, very challenging game. Okay, so Nepo comes back, and Nepo again takes it with hammer and tongs in this anti-Berlin. So Ding finally played the Berlin, not A6.
Right.
Louis Lopez, and this is the type of very deep strategic game that that comes about from these positions where both sides can play on both sides of the board.
Right.
White is now gearing up for an attack, and White unleashes the attack with surprising rapidity. Watch how
I
White
agree with you, Ken.
crowds the zone in the next few moves. Take that, but Black
That's
has
amazing.
already taken pawn. Black just goes about his business.
Yeah.
Then take a pawn there. So White had two pieces in Black's castle, but not able to press an attack further.
Just amazing.
Yeah, now really interesting.
That's all. So it all works.
So does White won an exchange on b5 because Black's rook couldn't retreat because the knight would have been hanging. So should White take the exchange? Well, it's very unclear. Believe it or not, on high depth, Stockfish says that White's best move was bishop f1.
Wow.
And this would exactly exemplify what Milan and you were all talking about at the very beginning of the program about the threat being stronger than the execution. This is effective because we reserve the right to take the rook later. And then let's see how we maneuver. So I don't know if any commentator has noted that. However, Caruana was commentating. And Caruana, I think, said, or the Caruana's partner said, Nepo's not going to take on b5. He's going to take on e6. And he did. Okay. So now we play some more moves. And Black probably still has to be very accurate to hold this. Because the queen side is, it's not clear Black really has a preponderance on the queen side. White has an extra pawn on the king side. Okay, so so Black lost another pawn on the king side, so Black goes for a counterattack against White's e-pawn. But now, in this position here, Ding decided to pitch a pawn to simplify and get rid of White's bishop, rather than just retreat the knight and try to defend. So anyway, so he did this. Okay, so now we have what should be a drawn ending. But what follows is a little exercise in how to play to lose. And I think that Ding, was definitely critical of his own play here. Again, Black should be able to sit, and if White's advances, then could seek counterplay with the rook and knight. But so this is fine. Doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but the key concept here is sit.
Yeah. Now, this exemplifies what I said earlier. Normally, I wouldn't play a move like this because you double the pawns, but Black's doubled pawns are not too weak in a position against White's majority. But if that certainly raises my eyebrows. I of White would take that knight, but Nepo just plays. Nepo plays with Sitzfleisch, and it's very clear that Ding is not. Ding is trying to counterattack now. It's like Black still thinks he's playing for the initiative down a pawn. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, no. You really needed to be able to. That isn't actually a mental thing, to be able to sit. Some temperaments don't allow that.
Right.
And maybe we're looking at one.
Yeah.
Because
so what
the ability to sit
here,
really, it's hard. You have to train yourself to be able to do that.
Yeah. So he's gotten rid of the rooks. He's forced White to trade rooks. But trading rooks is an advantage for white in this position because knight endings are the ones that are most winnable with this kind of imbalance. So now black has to play
Because
g5.
you have pawns to advance again.
The
Yeah.
only move.
Right.
That's the
Yes.
only move.
The only move, but still.
Yep.
Whatever.
Now, apparently, King had been thinking that black could force still more with knight e4. And this is very instructive because you think you'd worry about f3. But in fact, white can win by playing knight d3 here.
Wow.
Just defend. And black's doing nothing, and black's king is completely out of action.
Which is the whole point of the reason the pawns have advanced. If they had stayed back, if you just sat on the position, the king wouldn't be out of play. But by advancing the pawns, now the king's not there to help defend them.
Right. Exactly. So this is where Liren said after the game that the counter sacrifice he thought was the only way to save the game. In fact, black was okay with king e7 as well. But okay, we attack now king e7, and now knight c6 check, king f6, knight d4. So this is still worrisome for black.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but here black's activity actually worked. He got white's king off of f4, and maybe white put a knight here. There's one more moment in the game that's a bit of a head scratcher for me. And it's the fact, I guess Sting thought he could safely hold this way. But, especially since white can't repeat by going back to e3. But with minutes left, I got 40 minutes left, I think black should be able to calculate that this is a draw. So, okay, white is going to make a queen, but hey, you're going to get your pawn to the 7th. And
which is known.
And so maybe you're scared that white's king is a little close in. When white's king is a little close in, this can be made. But actually, black's king is on the good side of the f pawn already. And the fact that if white's king were on d2, yes, it would be lost. But white's king is not able to come over, and now we have the very standard stalemate defense,
which everyone should know.
With the f pawn or c pawn. So in fact, that should have been, but maybe Ding realized that this is not too much torture after all. It's still though a case. So with king f4, look, white's back in business here for a while, but apparently the players could see that there wasn't much for white to do except meander around, and so now f4 that actually does look sensible, and the players agreed to a draw here. Mm-hmm. So that's the long and short of it. Hope this was instructive.
That was very interesting to me and instructive.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what white's thinking was in the opening, but it developed into a very good attacking position, and looked pretty winnable. So hats off to him. I don't know where they came up with those ideas. And then the ending was very instructive too, because I love the idea of like sitting back, king on g7, pawn on f7, g6, and just say, okay, come at me.
Yeah.
And that's drawn so many endings for me and for many others. Just to be able to say, okay, come and get me, and don't overextend. Overextending, pushing your pawns, and has lost so many endings for me and so many other people.
You see, here is a problem that in chess is your move, and you must do something. You must play something. You cannot sit in a position and say, okay, you continue to move. For example, in investing in the stock market, sometimes very good strategy, do nothing. Let's see, you have some positions, they're going slowly your way. Let's see, sold cover call, and you see your call is slowly dying. The premium is yours. The stock is about the same. You don't need to do anything. So you just sit and watch.
In bridge, you can pass when it comes to your turn to bid. You can pass.
Yes, there is no such luxury. Unfortunately, you must move. And
I've been in positions where I want to not move, just pass.
Absolutely, but you have to move. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for a brilliant analysis.
Great game.
We look forward to a thrilling conclusion to the match.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll see you next Saturday. And Grandmaster
Any predictions? Anybody got to come out and say that they think one player is going to win?
Dean.
Really? Good
Yeah,
for you.
will win.
He's down a
In
point
my
right now.
opinion,
Yeah, I
he's-
won't. I should not venture.
I
a
know,
guess.
Ken, but let's see if you can confirm. In my opinion, his overall play, especially when he doesn't do the blunders and all the other stuff, his quality of play, in my opinion, is higher than Nepa. Nepa, he outplayed actually Nepa in some positions. Even in this position when Rook on D5, with the black, he achieved very, I would say, even promising position. Okay, White was not in the danger of losing, but I didn't see what White can do to improve his position. He would only improve his position if Ding would allow him, but doing some.
I'm rooting for him just because he played the French.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. So let's see you next Saturday. Have a great week.
It's okay.
And
Thank
we
you.
get the
Thank you.
course
Yeah, okay.
first. And goodbye to everybody. We'll see you next Saturday.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.